The first major update just dropped for Hades 2, bringing a huge number of quality of life changes, such as making the dash feel much more responsive, an entire new area, complete with its own Titanic boss, and Zinth the Black Coat, the sixth of the Nocturnal Arms, is now available for you to use alongside all of its aspects. So there's quite a lot to get through. But first, I want to start with the bad news. Admittedly, there's not very much bad news. There have been a lot of things that changed, and overall there are buffs. For example, the Witch's Staff, the special is now much faster and bounces between foes. This is a buff. On the Sister Blades, the special pierces and returns, which is a huge buff for aspect of Melinoe. But on the Moonstone Axe, the reworked special is now a Rising Slash, which in and of itself does feel pretty darn good. I have to say, I like how the slash is as a skill, and it's a very snappy and responsive move which you can use to disrupt enemy attacks in between your slower and heavier sweeping slashes. But if you got used to how the Moonstone Axe played previously, and you got used to being able to channel your special to block enemy attacks, especially on the cleave cast variant of Aspect of Charon, it is frighteningly jarring. I went from walking through the entire game feeling nearly untouchable to, oh my god, I can barely survive Eris. So yeah, that part feels pretty bad, but given how good everything else feels, I'm very much willing to give it a chance, and I'll share my thoughts at a future date after playing with it more. Could just be I'm playing it wrong because I'm used to all those old bad habits, such as letting enemies attack me. But interestingly, that ability to channel and block enemy attacks isn't gone. It's now on the Omega attack for Zinth the Black Coat. But what is this new weapon? Well, think of it as having the range and general aggression of Gilgamesh from the original Hades, a special that is basically the Adamant Rail, and a basic attack that kind of feels like the shield. And in terms of a design philosophy behind it, well, I'm pretty sure the devs played a bunch of Armored Core 6 and said, yeah, we can put an Armored Core in Hades too. And you know what? It's pretty damn awesome. So after I finished the update, the first thing I did is I played through on the axe. That way I could get some adamant needed to unlock the Black Coat. And then I immediately jumped into another run. At first, I struggled because, of course, it's something new, and without being able to use the Sorceress to automatically slow enemies down as you're channeling, Omega moves are much riskier, which I think makes a lot of sense because Omega moves are very powerful, they hit very hard, and being able to just spam them honestly wasn't the best for the game. As a note, if you want to still be an Omega move spammer, you can. There's just an opportunity cost. Specifically, you have to use Hecate's Silver Wheel. And so I suspect that's going to be a very competitive keepsake, especially for the final boss of any given area. I also realized that Zinth's special is really good at hitting stuff. And you know what? There's a god that synergizes a lot with really good at hitting stuff, that god being Poseidon. There's also a god that's really good at making Eris cry, that being Hestia. So I went through, I got a run, Poseidon on my special, Hestia pretty much everywhere else, but most importantly on the sprint. Completely trivialized the fight with Eris, something that I'd been struggling on before that, because I just wasn't used to not being able to slow her down so much. And I was surprised at how much damage I was able to rack up by using the special combined with the Poseidon Waves. The special, of course, has two forms. The first is the regular version, that fires 2 rockets that home in on a foe, and of course, with Poseidon, explode creating a splash around the target. But if you channel for just a little bit of time, it's very, very quick, only costs about 15 magic, you can unleash a more targeted flurry of rockets against a single target. This very much reminds me of a lock-on mechanic from Armored Core 6, hence why I suspect the devs may have played that game a bit when they were thinking about this weapon. And this combo was frighteningly effective. Basically, I juiced up my cast as much as possible so I could drop it, fire, and forget. I'd try to channel my Omega special as much as I could, but alternate between attack and special when I couldn't. And I grabbed Scorch, since Scorch has seen a lot of buffs, and honestly feels like it's in a pretty good spot. If I hadn't messed up at the end, Eris pretty much would have been a no-hit. Again, Hestia Sprint, super good against Eris. But then I got to Olympus, the new zone, and enemies here are kind of a big deal. In fact, they feel more on par with the enemies from Styx in the original game or Tartarus in Hades 2. Which is to say, they're going to hit you pretty hard, be very aggressive, and have more complicated moves. Plus, if one's armored, oh, forget it, that's a huge problem. Except, by having so much passive damage, being able to just drop my cast and run away, or channel safely from a distance with the special because it has significant range, all of that helped a lot. And when I was forced into a direct confrontation, I could channel my Omega attack, which has the block effect. It's not quite as safe as the shield from Hades 1. It's not even quite as safe as the special from the axe used to be. The window's a little bit tighter, but it worked well enough, especially on the final boss, that it got me through most of Olympus. Now, for the next part of the video, I'm going to be talking about my experiences with the final boss of a zone. If you don't want to see that yet, you want to discover it on your own, that's totally fine. I'm glad you enjoyed the video up until this point. Maybe get subscribed, ring that notification bell so you can find your way back, leave a like on your way out. Now's the time to click off. You have like 3 more seconds before the spoilers start. But for everyone else who wants to see the fight and wants to know more about it, on my second run with a black coat, I did reach Prometheus at the end of Olympus, and here's how that fight went.
Prometheus.
I know you think that you can get past me if you but continue to try and to try and to try. The truth is you shall. Perhaps not this night, but inevitably nonetheless.
At least you saved me some suspense. If I knew every outcome, as does the infamous Titan of Foresight, perhaps I too would become a disaffected, traitorous wretch.
What would you know of my plight? You who flail against time itself. So much courage born of pride. Come then, agent of change, and show me what I know you can do.
Revealing his plan.
You'll burn. Here come my masters. could only do my part.
Silence. Save your troubles for your master Kronos.
It's not my troubles that I mean to save, Agent of Change.
First and foremost, I gotta say, they very much follow the rule of cool here. I love Prometheus's design. He looks awesome, he very much looks like the martial artist he is, and the scar across his chest is just perfect, because in the Greek myth, his chest was constantly being ripped open and his organs being eaten, an experience that was definitely not the most pleasant. I have to say, I wasn't really expecting the fire faces and the transition, where you have to remember and dodge, otherwise you're going to get roasted, but also it felt like the timing was generous enough that I was able to watch the pattern, remember it, execute it, get through that phase without too much issue. His attack sequence, on the other hand, was pretty darn brutal. I got hit a lot, and that's in between the deflections that I was getting every time I cast my cast, and every time that I used my Omega attack. Wasn't enough to kill me, but it definitely did a lot of damage, so do be careful if you're going to fight him on your own. Either way, awesome fight. In a lot of ways, he honestly feels fitting of an end boss. I kind of wouldn't be surprised if Olympus ended up being the final zone, and it put something between Eris and Prometheus. I can't wait to fight him more, and I'm also kind of dreading fighting him on High Fear, or if there's an Extreme Measures version later. With that said, those are some of my thoughts on the new weapon and new zone after trying out the Olympic update. So far it's been a blast, and I kind of want Hades 2 to release in December, just so I can officially say this is my game of the year. That said, well, I say that, but to be honest, what I really want is for Supergiant to take as much time as they need to finish the game. Because honestly, who cares about Game of the Year anyway, and it's pretty darn awesome even in its current form. If you're looking for something else to watch, maybe check out a video where I talk about why Soot Sprint is so OP and why it completely counters Eris. Or if you're looking for some more Hades 2 guides, head over to Maxwell GG. Those links will be up in the card and down below. For now, thank you very much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.